I think that Israel, since October 7, has learned that we cannot trust anyone with the security of the citizens of Israel and taking control of strategic locations on our borders.
Yair Pinto joins us now from Jerusalem. Yair, what is the feeling right now in Israel? Is there a sense that you may have gotten rid of one problem in Syria and now you have a new one with the jihadists?
Well, yes, Eric, the situation is that there are no good guys. It's either a terrorist group that is linked with Al Qaeda or the former Assad regime that was ruling Syria and was an enemy of the state of Israel for more than 50 years. I grew up learning in officer school how to battle the Syrian tanks and their Syrian tactics. And now there is no Syrian regime anymore. The Middle East is changing completely and at a rapid pace. We really don't know what will be the next situation and who will lead this country.
Yeah, great point. And Israel right now, obviously on high alert, Yair. What do you think the government sees? Look, these are Islamic jihadists. They're not freedom fighters, obviously. The main rebel group is Al Qaeda linked. And it seems that Israel is taking, on one hand, a wait and see attitude, but on the other hand, making some preemptive moves, right? Seizing Mount Hermon and creating that buffer zone between Israel and Syria, also bombing chemical weapon stockpiles, et cetera. Seems like a wise move by Israel.
Yes, definitely. I think that Israel, since October 7, has learned that we cannot trust anyone with the security of the citizens of Israel and with taking control of strategic locations on our borders. So what Israel is doing now is creating a buffer zone in the Gaza Strip, that's one. Creating a buffer zone in South Lebanon, that's two. And now, because of the situation in Syria, we're also creating our own buffer zone between Israel and Syria. So we're taking all the strategic points, meaning the Hermon, which is the highest mountain in Syria and in Israel on the border, and we're taking control with IDF forces there. We have troops and tanks and armored vehicles in the demilitarized zone, which was supposed to be controlled by the United Nations peacekeeping force in Syria, which was actually saved by the IDF troops because we had to go inside Syria and save them from the rebels. So this is the situation. It's kind of, raises some question about the ability of the international community and the United Nations to actually keep the peace between Israel and its neighbors.
Yeah,
So,
you and I were...
Again, Israel has to take control and to protect its own people and its own security.
It's common sense. You and I were talking off camera, Yair. Look, the moves, the terrible moves made by the Iranian regime over the past year since October 7th, now they find themselves in as weak a position as we've seen since 1979 when they came to power. Can you talk real quick about Iran being the big loser in all this and Turkey potentially being the big winner?
Yes, and in the situation as it is now, it looks like Turkey has an open invitation to take control over Syria and to bring its forces closer to Israel. That's on the one hand. On the second hand, we see that Iran has been severely weakened and all its strategy, its proxies, are almost non-existent, except for the Houthis and maybe a few Iranian militias in Iraq. But when a terrorist organization and an extreme ideology regime is with its backs to the wall, you can expect some radical decisions. So I wouldn't be so happy about the situation as it is now. And I think that the Islamic Republic of Iran will push either to create an explosive terrorist attack, a massive rocket attack, or make a run for the nuclear bomb in order to gain some power, some respect in this region that it really lost in this war against Israel in the past year.
Yeah, the nuclear bomb seems to be Iran's only insurance policy left. Hey, about 15 seconds. Tell us real quick, my friend, about Boots on the Ground, your great new show.
Well, yes, this show is basically to give you, our viewers, information on what is happening in Israel every week from us, Israelis, officers that serve in the IDF and are part of the reserve units of this country so that you can pray for the peace of Jerusalem, knowing what really is happening here.
U.S. Marine veteran Daniel Penny has been cleared of all charges in the death of Jordan Neely, a disturbed homeless man who was threatening passengers on a New York City subway train last year. The fact that Penny was even on trial in the first place shows yet again that we have a very big problem in our justice system. It's a problem that President Trump knows all too well and one he's vowed to fix when he takes office once again 6 weeks from today. But if you watched him lead in Paris this weekend, you might think he's already our commander-in-chief. Joining us now to break it all down is David Harris Jr., host of The Pulse on Newsmax TV and a bold author, speaker, podcaster, and entrepreneur. David, great to see you. This Daniel Penny verdict, you've been talking about this on your X account. Number one, an outrage that ever went to trial. But number two, does this send a message, David, with President Trump coming into office that, look, the madness that's been happening in our justice system, it's got to change, and maybe it's about to?
Yeah, I think it absolutely sends a message, Eric, and thanks for having me on. It's an honor to be with you. I think it boldly sends a message from the New York American people there that they want law and order and they want justice just as bad as the rest of the country does. For these progressive DAs to try to push this agenda, to try to hold Daniel Penny hostage and accountable for the drug use, the flagrant, violent abuse of this individual that was, a crack addict. He was somebody that was loud and vulgar. He was somebody that was threatening women and children. I mean, I think Americans want people that are going to stand up for them. They want men to be masculine and to show some respect and honor for others that are in a situation like this. I think I would have probably done the exact same thing. Yeah. Got the guy in a headlock and said, "You're going to sit here and you're going to stay here until the police show up." But had this verdict came down any other way, every single warm-blooded, patriotic man that sees an injustice taking place would probably think 2 or 3 times before getting involved. They'd say, "Wait a minute, if I can't stand up for innocent women and children around me, then I might not put myself in harm's way." So this was definitely a win for justice. It was a win for the heroic act of Daniel Penny. And I already see there's outrage from some of those that want to stoke the whole Black Lives Matter flame and saying, "Oh, now any white guy can just put a black man in a choke." This isn't about race. It should never be about race. It's about what's right and wrong. So I think that the jurors in New York absolutely sent a clear message. They want law and order, and they want to stand up for heroes that are there when the police aren't.
Amen. It was a relief. It was refreshing to see, David. And look, this whole narrative of toxic masculinity, racism, homophobia, Islamophobia, etc., do you think that could be on its way out after the American people repudiated it in large numbers on November 5th and with President Trump about to take the helm once again?
I think it has. I think everything that has to do with this woke mob agenda is suffering. It's deflated. It's on its last legs. Americans are tired of it. They're tired of the cancel culture. They're tired of being put into boxes and saying you have to prescribe for this box or to this box or you're only in this box. Americans just want to be left alone. We want to feel safe in our own homes. We want to feel safe in our environment. We want to be able to go to the church that we want to go to. We don't want to deal with the tyrannical mandates that I'm actually appreciative that COVID came out like it did. It was horrible for so many people. I wish it would have never happened. But the fact that it did happen showed us which leaders, people in office that were elected to serve us, the American people, which ones are actually there for power, which ones are there to actually serve the American people. So when it comes to the woke agenda, when it comes to the cancel culture, I think it's on its last legs. Americans are tired of it. We don't want to be put in a box. We want to be left alone. We want to feel safe. We want to know that our elected leaders have our backs and are putting Americans first. And that's the resounding win that we gave President Donald J. Trump in November to become our next and again commander-in-chief.
Yeah, David, well said. I think we're more unified as a country than we expected, than we even knew, judging by the election result on November 5th. We're repudiating the madness. We're going to make America sane again. Hey, about a minute left before the break, David, then we will bring you right back. Speaking of leadership, President Trump in Paris this weekend for the grand reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral. Wow, it was pretty striking to me to see world leaders lining up to shake his hand. Trump is back, and I think the world has taken notice. What did you pick up from that event over the weekend?
Well, the respect from all of those world leaders. Everybody wanted to shake his hand. Everybody wanted to get close. Zelensky there with a big old smile on his face, hoping that the gravy train doesn't stop, but it will. But what we saw was leadership in action and in motion. And when somebody understands and recognizes someone as a true leader, they honor them. And that is us. That is America. We are being honored again. President Trump is not even back in the Oval Office yet, and world leaders have already taken notice. They know what's to come. They know how he conducted his first 4 years. They know that President Trump was not somebody that they could play with. They couldn't push him around. They couldn't bully him. President Trump is sharp. He's exactly who I believe God appointed and called to be our next commander in chief. And I actually believe that it was God's grace and mercy to allow us to experience the last 4 years underneath Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We needed a wake up call. We needed to see exactly what I believe the Democrat Party is all about. They're all about power and control. They'd like to turn us into the USSA, United Socialist States of America. They'd like for nobody to be able to go to church. They'd like, if you listen to their religion, what they talk about, it's he and she. It's God is a he and a her. It's amoral. It's not biblical. It's, in my opinion, completely anti-Christ in nature. And yet that's exactly what the Democrat Party has been championing, along with abortions, just like they had outside their convention, an abortion clinic in a bus rolling around. They're everything that's not for America, and President Trump is. So I think we saw leadership in action on the world stage.
David, we talk about the madness at our southern border. It seems to me to be the source of a lot of the evil in America right now, whether it's the fentanyl crisis, human trafficking, drug trafficking, etc. Do you think this will be agenda number one for President Trump 6 weeks from today when he takes office, turning around the situation at the southern border? And what kind of impact can that lawlessness that we've been battling over the past 4 years?
Well, I think it's going to be top of his agenda on day one. He understands that the border is one of the main reasons why Americans overwhelmingly supported him. Our border has been wide open. There's been no help whatsoever from Canada or Mexico. Just in the last few weeks, since President Trump has been appointed a president-elect, the president of Mexico has come out and said, "Hey, we're actually going to work with the President Trump to make sure that these caravans stop going into the United States." How did President Trump get this done? He got it done with tariffs, understanding that we allow so much to come in from other countries, and we don't tariff it, we don't tax it, we don't make sure that they pay when it comes in. And he's very bold when it comes to those tariffs, and he should be, because the amount of fentanyl that's come into this country is overwhelming. There's so many tens of thousands of lives that die every single year because of fentanyl, and the amount of children that are being trafficked across the border. It's so disturbing. Over 380,000, as last I heard from Tom Homan, the new appointed border czar. Over 380,000 children have gone missing. This is something that it should be on every single person's heart, especially if you're a Christian. And I know it's on the top of President Trump's heart. So I believe he will enact the policies that gave us the safest border in at least 40 years. He will do that probably on day one and make sure that our border is secure.
Yeah, David, you said it. Over 300,000 children missing. And it brings me to one of the great issues, I think, of the past 4 years, one of the great evils, really, the transing of kids and all that madness. Defending children, I believe, as a Christian especially, should be priority number one, not only for us as the American people, but for the new administration. Do you see, hopefully, a cultural turnaround here and a turning back to God? Is that possible? Is a revival on the table in the next 4 years?
I think it is, Eric. I absolutely see that. I actually saw an article just yesterday that Bible sales in the United States have soared. People are turning back to their faith. People are understanding that we are in a spiritual battle in this nation. And as you pointed out, Eric, it's over our children. That's one thing that will unite every single parent, is understanding that there is a war waging for our kids. If they can't go after them and take them out in the womb like abortion wants to, then it's, can we castrate them? Can we keep them from being able to procreate later on in life? Can we steal their identity? Can we tell them that God screwed up when he created them and put them in a boy's body or in a girl's body? Can we feed that lie to them early? And that's exactly what the woke LGBT mafia agenda is all about. It's antichrist. It is against the very order and divine order of how God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. So I think Americans are waking up to that. I believe that Americans are feeling the need to get more in tune with their faith and with their Creator. And that's a very, very exciting thing to witness. I think it's only going to continue in the coming years.
Stakelbeck Tonight, my all-new nightly series on current events through a bold biblical lens. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching, and God bless.